I'm Carol Voisin, and I'm running for the mayor of Ashland. And I want to welcome you to this presentation of our campaign. First of all, I always like to inform folks as to why I am running for the mayor of Ashland. I'm running because of you, the citizens of Ashland. I want to be sure that your voice and your vision is heard in city government. What that means is your voice, that you are heard at city council meetings, that you are informed about what the issues are, and that you have an opportunity to speak when it's important and when you can make a difference in the decision-making of the city council. I also want to be sure that your values and your dreams and your wishes for the city of Ashland will be a part of the vision of Ashland that together we will realize in the next 4 years. So this evening, I would like to introduce to you part of my team, campaign team, to let you know what goes on inside a team and also what our platform is. So I'd like to introduce Regina Ayars.
Thank you, Carol. Well, what's my main role on the campaign this far is to work on yard signs and house parties. So we've got a lot of signs around town, and we've had quite a few house parties. So I'm pleased with that.
And thank you, you've done a good job on that. Appreciate that. And Nancy Parker.
Hi, it's good to see you and to be here today. I'm the treasurer for the campaign, and I'm also in charge of design and advertising. So the Your Vision, Your Voice, Voisin for Mayor slogan is my work. Thank you. And I guess that's it. I handle advertising.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is part of our team, and many people wonder, well, what happens in a campaign and how does the team work? Well, one of the things I would like to share with you is how we developed our ideas for the campaign. First of all, we were very clear about being ethical in our campaign. And what that means primarily is that we decided very beginning, no negative campaigning. We would not do anything that is negative or personal in the campaign towards any of the candidates, and especially the incumbent. And what were some of the other issues that we decided we would be clear about?
Well, I think we wanted to make sure that we positioned you. The main thing, I think, was to differentiate you. If we could stay focused on differentiating you from the current mayor, that's the case that we wanted to make. And we didn't need to say negative things about the current mayor in order to make that difference known to the people that would be making their decision. So I think, you know, certainly didn't want to do any negative advertising. And both of you and I, both of us know what that's like
We do.
in 2012. And that was terribly discouraging because there was a lot of negative advertising, not necessarily done by individual candidates, but by a PAC.
Conservative PAC.
That was operating. And we just don't think that they're operating during this campaign.
I don't think they are.
Not yet. We don't know.
Our group was instantly unanimous on the subject of no negative ads.
Right.
And keeping our level high. And we all agreed that if anybody did go low, that we would go high.
Right. Well, that brings to mind what Michelle Obama said.
Exactly.
Is, you know, when she said to her daughters, when they go low,
that's it.
We go high. I love that.
Then they didn't go low, so it didn't come up.
Right, it didn't.
But I think one of the other things that we were looking at with ethics was in the area of accounting and and financing. We would seek as many small contributions as possible, and my job is to report them as quickly as possible on the state campaign financing website.
Well, what is the law on that, Nancy?
Right now we're in the 7-day reporting window.
Okay.
That started, I believe, September 30th, where every single dime that comes in and goes out, every single penny, gets reported on Orastar and who it goes to or who it came from, and like that. So I try and get everything in within 48 hours.
Right, and if either donations or expenses.
That's
Both
right.
of them
That's
have to
right.
be reported.
That's right.
So,
Even reimbursements,
right,
and even if it's a nickel.
right.
Yep.
And this is public knowledge. This is something that any person can
Right.
go and
That's
look
true.
up on the
Right.
state website
Right.
and see what each candidate is spending.
And what
As-
we've noticed is
Yes.
that there are a few people who aren't reporting anything.
Expenses
amazing.
or donations.
That's right.
Now,
That's
what
right.
is the tool? It's Orstar, isn't
Or
it?
a star.
Or a star.
Or a
Yep.
star, yeah.
Yep.
I remember
And
that
it's a
from
very good tool, and
2012.
if you don't know how to use it, you just call up and they help you over the phone.
They're so helpful. The Secretary of
They are.
State's office was very, very helpful
Yeah.
when I ran for office.
So
Yeah.
anyone who wants to run for office, remember that.
Uh-huh.
It's very easy to get connected and to get set up with Orostar. And so I've had this wonderful treasurer who's been able to do that and keep us ethical in terms of our reporting, which is extremely important for any campaign. And then we started developing our message. And I remember we had our meetings, we were trying to decide how are we going to craft the 4 main parts of our platform. And the first one is communication, and that means better communication between the City Council and the City Administration and the people of Ashland. It also includes being more transparent so that citizens know what's happening. Nothing's done behind closed doors. The only thing that the council and the mayor have in terms of executive session usually has to do with real estate sales or those sorts of things. So I want to be sure that, and as your mayor, I would have transparency would be the basis for all of the transactions that go on in the city council and outside the city council. Citizens would know what's going on. The other thing is citizens will have the information they need to make decisions and to know when to come to council and see what's happening. So that was one of our platforms, issues for our platform. Second one is sustainability. Now, sustainability takes on many different forms, and one of them is that we really must be prepared for emergencies. At this point in time, we've done some work with CERT. We're also having, the fire department is having special meetings where we have training for what we can do in terms of earthquakes. But we need to do more than that. We need to have a commission. We need to have an emergency preparedness commission that would function very similar to FEMA. So we would have an Ashland FEMA that would be responsible for getting our community ready. And that means every part of our community would be ready to be prepared for any kind of emergency. And that commission would be responsible for doing that. Now, do you remember some of the things we were talking about in terms of being prepared for this? For some kind of emergency, because that we know
All of
something's
the
going to happen.
utilities, all the utilities will be gone. Our shelter will be in question. Sewer, communication, transportation. We can expect in the event of a Cascadia subduction zone earthquake, virtually everything that we rely on for our daily living will be gone. Food, the only food we'll have is what's in the markets, because there will be no transportation coming into the Rogue Valley until
I-5 will be shut down.
That's
Yeah, it'll
right.
be shut down.
That's right. So yeah,
I
there's
keep a supply at home. I keep a supply.
you?
Not enough. And as I went to the workshop that was sponsored.
Air.
Yes, and the one thing that I learned from that I'm not following is that I have a good supply of water and food and hand cranked radios inside. But
Yeah.
if I couldn't get access
That's right.
to that part of my home, I should have a backup supply. What's that called when we have two waste
Reserve.
management?
Reserve.
No, well, not wait. Anyway, I'm getting off subject here.
Yes, you are.
But I don't have anything outside.
yeah.
So I need to do that.
Or just have one outside.
Well, what if you can't get it?
But I
don't
think
know.
the
I
point of the
having-
commission will be to develop an overall plan to give people the kind of information that they need to be prepared.
Right. And
That's
as
what we don't have now.
Right.
We have very small picture preparedness, and
Yes,
what we
individuals,
need. That's
yes.
right. And there are large communities within our town that can't do any of this.
That's
right.
They're seniors, they're on disability.
Correct.
So these are the people that we need to give special attention to with a commission like this.
That's
And
right.
that's what the mayor will be able to do,
Absolutely.
is to set up, I know there's some resistance on the part of some councilors, and perhaps the mayor, the current mayor, to have fewer commissions rather than more commissions. And so that would be, and the mayor has the ability, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
One of the mayor's responsibilities is to appoint citizens to commissions. And the mayor can also initiate either initiate new commissions. And so that's something that I would be doing, especially appointing citizens to commissions. One thing that really distinguishes me from John Stromberg is this: I would appoint citizens from throughout our community, not just from one particular sector, like the business community or the chamber. I would be sure that we would have citizens from all walks of life, also from all our different districts. We have 6 districts in Ashland. I would be sure that people from each district or neighborhood would have representation on commissions. And I think that's extremely important, and that I will take very seriously and do. Also, we do have, in addition to sustainability and preparedness for emergency, there's another area of sustainability that is also very important, and that is we need equity in our city government. At this point in time, we have 10 department heads. Those department heads are all male, and we need to change that. In the next 3 or 4 months, there will be at least 2, maybe 3 department heads will be retiring. And the responsibility for doing the hiring of those department heads lies with the mayor. And I would be, as your mayor, responsible for doing that hiring. And I can say to you that we would have women in the finalists. And people say, well, how do you know you can have women if you're getting applications? And there are no women. When you go for a search, what you do is you don't just wait for applications to come in. You actually recruit. I would go to the League of Oregon Cities, and I would find out what women are now in secondary positions, or actually heads in smaller cities, or maybe larger cities who might be interested in moving to Ashland. And I would recruit women to apply for the positions that are coming available. And I think that's terribly important, that we just don't accept applications as they come in. We accept those, but we also reach out and we recruit people to apply. And I have to tell you, I will be sure in recruiting that there are women will be, and minorities,
yes,
and minorities who will be considered for these positions.
This
And I think
became
it's
one of
terribly
our
important.
this became one of our chief planks. In fact, was equal opportunity for women and minorities. We haven't touched on affordable housing. Maybe you can go talk about this a little bit, because it's quite an emergency.
It is. Affordable housing is clearly an emergency, a crisis in Ashland, not only in Ashland, but also in the state of Oregon and across the country. Affordable housing is not available in Ashland, and we really need to do something about that. And as your mayor, I have a plan to address this crisis and get started working on it. First of all, what I want to do is fund the Affordable Housing Ashland
Trust
Trust
Fund.
Fund. Trust Fund.
there you go.
The Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
And how we can fund that, there's so many different ways we can fund that. The Housing Commission and Human Services Commission brought to the council a list of at least 11 sources of revenue that we could use in order to fund this fund. And we need to do that because this is how we can use that. We can use that for low-cost loans, and also we can subsidize some rents. We can build affordable housing, and this is how that works. For every dollar we have, we can get grants up to that would be $9 to our $1 from the state and federal government. There are grants out there that really want to see communities grow and have affordable housing. So we have diversity within our community and not just a gentrified community. We really need to begin to close the income gap that we have here in Ashland, and that's one way to do it. We want to have those people, when we go to a restaurant, who are serving us our food. We want to have them to have an opportunity to live in Ashland. We want to have our young families that live in Ashland who are here because they want their children to go to our wonderful schools. We want them to be able to have an opportunity to buy a house in Ashland. And the Affordable Housing Trust Fund can do that. So we must find a way to fund it. And there are at least 11 ways in which we can do that. And as your mayor, I will see that we move forward with this immediately, because we are in a crisis.
Another issue that comes under that general heading is the high cost of rent and the huge increases that a lot of renters are experiencing year on year.
And that's where I received a call, and I think I've told you both about this, a call from a woman who said, Carol, my rent has been increased from $600 to $775 a month. And she said, I can't afford it. What can you do for me? You're a city councilor. What can you do? I said, there's not much I can do. And the reason for that is the state has a law that says municipalities cannot put a ban on rents. So what I want to do as your mayor is to gather together some of the mayors here in the Rogue Valley, and I already know one who would be very interested in doing it, get the mayors together. Then we go to Salem, we talk to the governor, we go to the legislature, and we say, okay, we want this law changed. Every municipality should have the right to legislate rent control or not. We should not be bound by a state law that is over 20 years old, and we're in a crisis, and we want to help you change that law. What can we do to do it? And we will lobby Salem until that gets changed. And that's an important way in which we must address the skyrocketing rent rates in Ashland and across the entire valley.
Well, what I like about your position is that you have a sense of urgency about this topic. It's affecting people's daily
That's right.
lives. And that Housing Trust Fund has been in place for 10 years, and you were instrumental in
That's
making it
right.
happen. And 10 years later, we still do not have any more money in there than we had probably 8 years ago.
I know.
So the current council and the current administration has not been willing, and it's political will that it will take in order to get that funded.
That's right. Our John Stromberg has been mayor for 8 years. He's had 8 years to do something about this crisis and has done nothing. When I'm your mayor, I definitely will see that something is done, that we fund that Affordable Ashland Trust Fund will be funded so we can begin to address the crisis of affordable housing. And we must do it, and the urgency is there.
And there's other things we can do. We can change the ordinances so that
That's
tiny
right.
houses can be built in town, so that accessory units
are easier to build.
Easier to build.
The other thing, when I was canvassing, I learned from some people that they would love to be able to open up their home where they have 6 bedrooms and only 2 people living in the house. Why can't they have boarding houses? Well, right now
We have
our
an ordinance.
ordinances do not allow that.
Yeah.
We need to have the opportunity where tiny houses can, on a piece of land, can be built just like we have manufactured homes, so that they can do that as well. Right now, we don't have that. We need to change the ordinances, and we need to begin to do that immediately, not in a couple years.
So I think I heard that 75% of the people who work in Ashland have to live outside of Ashland. They can't afford to live here. And city workers, I believe it was 65% of our city workers, including, I don't know if this is true of the 10 department heads, but
They
Several
live
of
out
them.
of town.
they
Several of
live
them do.
out of
Yes.
town.
That's right.
They don't vote in Ashland. They don't pay taxes in Ashland. They come here to work. So that's an issue of traffic downtown. All
huge.
these people commuting here all need a place to park. And if our city hall is downtown, that's where they have to park. And they take up something like 20% of all the parking places downtown.
Yeah, that has been mentioned as a real issue by a lot of the people that you've been talking to.
That's right.
Is parking.
That's right. Parking is an issue. We do have a parking plan that's coming forward. It's going to go to the Planning Commission and then the Transportation Commission. They will make recommendation to the City Council. We do know that what's in that plan is that there is a new position, which will be about $100,000. So we have a parking czar who will orchestrate and make sure all the parking happens the way we want to. There'll be new signage, possibility of actually leasing some of the parking spaces in churches or other places, and that sort of thing, so people can park elsewhere than downtown. However, I want to use that $100,000 for something else. I want to use that for a feasibility study for a electric shuttle system. I want us to find out whether or not an electric shuttle system can work here in Ashland. And my bet is it will. And there are so many citizens that are really interested in this. I want to get them on board, get them on a task force, 6 months, figure it out.
We heard from Mountain Meadows. They're all on board for this.
Right.
They
They are.
feel completely isolated. They're not on any bus routes.
That's
And
right.
they have no access to public transportation.
That's right.
Why don't you tell us about the 10 by 20?
I do. The final thing I want to talk about is, and this does have to do with sustainability as well as a number of other things, but the 10 by 20 ordinance has just been passed by the City Council. That was developed 2 years ago. It took 2 years. I was part of a team of citizens. We were looking at the Imperatrice property. We're thinking, couldn't there be a solar farm there or something? We met every week for 2 years. And we brought forward a plan for a solar farm, 10 megawatts on the Imperatrice property. We took it to a committee and the budget committee, and the vote was all the councilors and the mayor voted against it.
Well, I remember you presenting to the council
presented
as
it
a
to them.
citizen.
That's right.
You sat and as a citizen, you
I
presented
presented
that proposal. Yes.
That's correct. And all the folks that were supporting that were there. They had questions. They wouldn't let the citizens answer the question, but that's not the point. We thought it was dead. But what we did instead was we decided, nope, this is too good to give up. So we decided to draft an ordinance. The ordinance actually resulted in having 30 people go out and get signatures. So we got over 2,400 signatures, took it to the council, and thank goodness they changed their mind, and now it is an ordinance, and it's going through the bureaucracy of the city. So that's what citizens can do. It's amazing. Citizens can actually be a part of policymaking in this city. And as your mayor, I will do that. That is one of my pledges to the citizens of Ashland. I will, as your mayor, involve you in the policymaking of this city. You deserve to have your voice heard, and also your values and your ideas for the vision of this city need to be incorporated into this policymaking. And you need to be involved in this, and together we can make a huge difference in this city going forward. And I want to invite citizens to be a part of that. And that's the important role of the mayor, to usher citizens into this process, to assist you in getting into the processes that are necessary to get a law made or to get a resolution. And I've done that for the last 8 years. I have ushered citizens through this process, and as your mayor, I will be sure that you have your voice, and I ask you for your vote as mayor. Thank you.